there. I wanted to talk about three words that came up in conversation that they kind of sound similar, but they mean different things. Oppress, suppress, and repress. Now, they all have to do with pushing down, but it's in different ways and for different reasons. So let's start with oppression. That's the one we hear about the most. That's when someone else or even a whole system is keeping you down. It's an external source. It's usually about control or power. So if someone's being ignored because they're a woman, or they're not getting a job because of the color of their skin, or because they're wearing certain religious garb, that is called oppression. I live in a province in Canada where oppression is kind of normalized here. If you're wearing a hijab, you could lose your job. So it's heavy and it's real and it hurts. Now, suppression, that's more about silencing or holding back something. Could be that you have an idea that you're afraid to tell anyone about, or you have a feeling about something, or you want to protest something. If you've ever been at a family dinner and you have bit your tongue, not wanting to say something, you've actually done some suppressing. So that's yourself doing it to yourself, but it could be also from outside where someone is saying, oh, don't say anything, you're going to embarrass me. That can happen. And then there's repression, and that one's more internal. That's definitely internal. It's what we do to ourselves without even realizing it. And we push down our feelings, our memories, or our needs because they just feel too big or too unsafe to deal with. But this one's an emotional thing. We are repressing our emotions, but they don't stay gone. If you read any book on trauma, and I've read quite a few, it shows up in your stress, in how you relate in your relationships where you're repressing your needs, and eventually it's going to show up in your health. And here's when things get tricky, because all three of these can overlap. So especially if you're a people pleaser, you can spot the genesis of why you are people pleasing. You might have grown up being oppressed by a toxic home environment, maybe a narcissistic parent. Then you learn to suppress your voice to stay safe. You're looking for, it's not safe to speak up at home, so you look for ways to just get through the day. Eventually, you start repressing your own needs, and you're not even aware of it. And here's the good news, though. These things, as adults, we get to unlearn them. We get to check in with ourselves and ask, hey, who's running my life right now? Whose voice is running this show? What I like to tell my clients is, who's driving your bus? Who's making the decisions about you? Most of the time, the ongoing suppression and repression that we're experiencing, they're things we've been conditioned to allow. I'm not blaming anyone here. It's because we've been impacted by the power of other people. But because if we've learned it, though, we can also unlearn it. You've probably heard this great quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, where she says, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I love that, because it means that maybe we can start withdrawing that consent that we gave earlier on, and we can start taking our space in the world. You might have heard the saying, take your power back. What does that mean? That's what it exactly means, is when we suppress or repress ourselves, we have given them the power. Oppression is where they took the power, but those other two is something where we have a lot to say about it. You are allowed to show up as your full, beautiful self. And if you feel that you're being stopped, you need to ask yourself, is this an internal programming from an old memory that's creating a response? Or is this someone in my life that needs to be blocked, replaced, or removed? You have the power to decide that.